Peeps, Kenny Molotov here at home. I wanted to talk about something that I've been asked in the past, which I think it's time to address, which is how to become a plumber, and this is my how-to guide. One thing you gotta note though is there is a difference between becoming a plumber and becoming a licensed plumber. There's more work towards becoming a licensed plumber. There's in-class sessions, etc. I'm gonna go through all of it. Let's get to it. The very first thing you need to do if you want to become a plumber is you need to find a plumbing company you can work with. Here's a few questions for you. Do you know somebody that works for a plumbing company? Do you know a plumber? Do you know plumbing companies? Do you know somebody on the local plumbing union? These are all questions that are going to help you ascertain where exactly to take your next steps. If the answer is yes to any of those questions, I suggest calling up that person or calling up those companies right away and asking if they're looking for help, or start asking if they can give you some hints and tips on how to get into that specific company. But if all the answers were no to those questions I just stated, then we have to move on to phase 2, which is doing some research. What you have to do is get onto any search engine and start looking up plumbing companies in the city or the state or the province that you're currently living in. So you're looking for a couple of things here. You're looking for the local plumbing union, and you're also looking for local plumbing companies. And what you're going to do is compile a list of all the companies and the unions in the area that you're currently living in. What you need is the name of the companies, the phone numbers of the companies, the PO boxes of the companies, and also the email addresses of those companies. Whatever information you can get your hands on in order to essentially contact them if you absolutely need to. Once you have this list, now's the time to sit down and create a resume. A resume is basically intended to show the company what you've done in the past, what sort of assets you could bring to the team, what strengths you have, and your hours of availability. Now you got to know that there are a lot of great resources online in order to know how to create a resume. What you got to do is look them up online. All the links in the description below for the ones that I found, so that they might be good resources for you to go by. Now that you have a resume created, the next thing is to finally start contacting these plumbing companies. Take that list you compiled, find all the phone numbers, and start calling them up. The first thing you got to ask is if the plumbing companies are looking for first-year apprentices. If you get a yes from that answer, you say, perfect, my name is so-and-so, I'd love to send you a resume. If they say no to that question, the next thing you have to ask is, do you need help with manual labor? Do you need somebody just to show up on the job site to do some sweeping, to do some cleaning, to help bring the pipes in, to clean pipes, etc.? If they say yes to that question, you say, perfect, let me send you my resume. If they say no, you move on to the next question of, is it possible for me to send you guys a resume so you have my name and phone number on file? That way, if anything comes up, a spot on the team, or just somebody you need to help around the job sites itself, you can give me a shout. This is what you have to remember. You have to remember that you have just become a salesperson, and the person you're selling, the product you're selling, is you. And your job is to essentially make sure that that company has your name and phone number in hand. That way they can call you up if they have a spot opening or if they need help on the job site. That's your goal. It's not going to work with every plumbing company, of course, I get it, but that's what you're trying to do with every phone call that you make. So what you're going to do then is cycle through the entire list that you compiled. You're going to call every plumbing company until you get a yes, essentially. And it might be beneficial to even keep calling if you got a yes, and just because sometimes things don't work out and all of a sudden you realize that you're stuck without a job anyway. So my suggestion is call all the plumbing companies up, do this entire process for all of them. Do your best to make sure that they got an email from you that's a resume that says your name and phone number, and fingers crossed that somebody picks up the phone and calls you back and asks you to join the team. Now here's the thing you got to know, this isn't an easy process. A lot of people find it takes a few months to actually get a call back, but what you're going to do then, if you got to know from all the plumbing companies that you called, the next thing you want to do is compile brand new lists. So you were looking at the city that you live in and the local union and all the local plumbing companies. So what you want to do now is look at the surrounding cities and the surrounding plumbing unions and start compiling a list of places that you wouldn't mind commuting to in order to get your foot in the door. Once you compile that list, then it's the exact same game plan. Start calling up all those companies, start asking the same exact questions, start calling the local union, start asking them if they need plumbers, and you do this over and over again until you find the company that's willing to hire you. Now, the next options that you have in case that you've done this for a few months on end and you haven't got any calls back is potentially going into something called a pre-employment program or a pre-apprenticeship program. And what this basically is a program offered by a school or college nearby that will take you through the basics of the trade you're trying to get into. A plumbing pre-apprenticeship program will essentially sit you down and teach you the basics basics of plumbing in the first year that you're there. What you have to know is that there will be a cost to it. You will be in school for something like 6 months to a year, and in those 6 months to a year, you probably won't be working with plumbing companies because you're going to be inside a classroom that entire time. The benefits of joining this sort of program is that they're going to put your hands on the tools. They're going to give you the theory so that when you get to a plumbing company, you're not totally green. You do have some knowledge of how things work and what tools to use. The disadvantage of this sort of program is that it doesn't really do anything except give you knowledge. The only difference is that it's a selling point now. On your resume, you'll be able to say that you went through a pre-employment or pre-apprenticeship program and that you know some things about the trade, which should give you a little bit of an advantage over another person trying to get in that's totally green. So that's an option that you should keep in mind. Peeps, this is basically the how-to of how to get into a plumbing company and how to become a plumber. The moment you get in, then it's all that hard work that we always talk about as plumbers. It's you figuring out the tools, it's you figuring out the situations, ascertaining leaks, understanding what flood level rim is, etc, etc, etc. But if you wanted to take it a step further and you wanted to become a licensed plumber, then that's an entirely new process that you're going to have to deal with. Here are a few things that you have to know if you're planning to go the licensed route to become a licensed plumber. Here in Ontario, Canada, the way it works is in order to become a licensed plumber, there are a few steps that you need to take. The first thing is you have to register with the city and sign up as an official apprentice. This happens by you finding a licensed plumber to work under, and it also happens by you getting the plumbing company you're working with to sign you off and say, we do have a licensed plumber that this person is currently working under, and that licensed plumber is going to oversee the work that this new plumbing apprentice is going to take over, and also that licensed plumber cannot take any other apprentices while you are the apprentice under him or her. Here in Ontario, you are not allowed to have more than one registered apprentice for every licensed plumber. So one licensed plumber cannot have 2 apprentices working under him. That's not how it works. One apprentice equals one licensed plumber, essentially. So once you find that plumber to work under and once you finally get registered, you are now officially documenting hours and you are now officially going to be sent to school for 3 in-class sessions. Those sessions will be basic, intermediate, and advanced. And in Ontario, it's going to take 8 weeks for you to pass all of them. You must pass them. If you fail, you're going to have to go back to school and do basic, intermediate, or advanced again, whichever one you failed at. And once you pass all of those and you have 9,000 hours under your belt of work, you are officially allowed to take the exam to become a licensed plumber. And once you challenge that exam and you pass that, you are officially a licensed plumber. A couple of things that a lot of people ask is, what if I was working for a plumbing company for 7 years, but I never officially registered as an apprentice? What you have to know is a lot of times apprenticeship programs are good with this. What they'll be able to do is allow you to document those hours. If you can prove and you could document those hours can go towards your apprenticeship program. That way you don't have to do the 9,000 hours all over again. So that's something to keep in mind for the future. Peeps, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I'm more than happy to clarify anything that you may need. Make sure to pass this on to other plumbing apprentices that you know are trying to get into the game, because I know it's a little bit difficult to get your foot in the door because a lot of people don't know where to start. Please like, subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you guys very soon. Kenny Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.